And we are rocking and rolling with another gold sponsor for the Christmas in July 24-hour live streamathon, where we come together for 24 hours to create a circle of hope. HOPE, help one person every day. And we are here to just pour goodness, love, and light into the world. And so I want to welcome Joseph Stetter of the Celebration Group. And he is a two-time gold sponsor for Christmas in July and an amazing, amazing human being. How are you doing today, Joseph?
Fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing well. It's so great to see you again and to be able to have you be a part of this heartfelt mission of mine.
Thank you for having me, and it's an honor. I'm committing my life to making a bigger impact, and so I love the messaging behind this Christmas in July and kind of what it represents. And so, I wanted to be part of it again this year.
Thank you so much. And so tell viewers where you're tuning in from.
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Toronto, Canada, and the Celebration Group. What is that?
So the Celebrate Group is basically a corporate culturist organization. So what we do is we help companies hire the right people and keep them, not only through recruiting, but through applying a multitude of personality and psychometrics assessments so that we can actually gauge the strengths and weaknesses of every single employee in a company and what's necessary to groom them to become a great leader, for example. We also help organizations not just preach about corporate culture, but actually implement it correctly, because too many organizations kind of say, oh yeah, we have culture, but then they don't actually do anything that shows it. And we help companies basically also understand what their employees care about from an intrinsic or social responsibility, so that when they're making decisions for the company, they can make decisions that actually engage their staff. And so that's on the business side. And then as a resume whisperer, I've had the honor and the pleasure of helping over 12,000 people land their dream job in as little as 2 days.
Wow. And I love that, resume whisperer. That's gold right there. 12,000 people, man. And the way that things are today, is it, do you find more people needing your help today to get seen out there?
So it's a catch-22. And here's what I'm going to say. Like right now in North America alone, which is the United States and Canada, there's 60 million people that are unemployed. There's 50 million people that are severely underemployed, meaning have a university degree but work at McDonald's. And then there's about 30 to 40 million people going through some sort of education or retraining. So there's definitely a need for my services, but there's also a lot of people that are self-proclaimed gurus that kind of go, oh yeah, it's easy to write a resume. I can just go on ChatGPT, type in a few keywords, and I have a resume. Yes, ChatGPT can create I would say, decent resume of kind of, here are some of the words that you might need or some of the phrases in your resume for whatever job you're applying to. But ChatGPT will never tell your story. And that's where my expertise comes in. And that's where people have gotten hired in as little as 2 days, because I highlight their greatness. I highlight and I pull out of them the things that they've never thought about from a perspective of why them? Why are they an expert in whatever field that they do? And what are the results that they were able to produce? So whether it's, they created this kind of video that had this many views, whether it's they solved a very complicated like technical issue, whether it was an engineering kind of innovation that changed or revolutionized things, or even an accountant that automated certain things on Excel or other resources. Part of what I do is to kind of go, as Les Brown would say, you have greatness within you. So what is it that, if you had to think about, what are you most proud of? What are your achievements? Why is this work mattering to you, kind of thing? Because a lot of times people I speak to might think, well, this is part of my day-to-day. It's not that important. And so they dismiss their own achievements because they kind of go, this is part of the job. Part of what I do is go, no, don't dismiss it, highlight it. And then, the right companies will kind of go, oh my God, this is exactly what we need. This is the skill set that we've been missing with every other candidate that's applied for the job, for example.
That's amazing because, in speaking with you in the past, you do bring in like to highlight those specific things instead of just like label off skills that are pretty standard if you're applying for a certain type of position. So, how do you get somebody comfortable enough with you to like start sharing these things, or does it just come out organically?
So again, it's asking questions, asking open-ended questions, right? So if I were to ask you, Elena, what are you most proud of in your career, right? It doesn't have to be the biggest thing out there, but it's something that matters to you, right? So, if you've kind of helped with, breast cancer research because you've gone through that and so forth, and that's something you're proud of, even if it's not on the professional side,
Mhm.
it's something that's quantifiable that has transferable skills. Gone are the days where you can kind of go, I'm hardworking, dedicated, committed team player with excellent communication skills. Um, in 20 years of recruiting, I've met very few people that say, listen, I'm lazy, I'll show up late, none of my work any good, and I really hate people. Please hire me. Right. Similarly, if you say to me that you know how to answer the phone, I'm going to look at you in shock and go, really? Someone in North America that knows how to answer the phone? Unless you live in an igloo, a cave, or practice the faith of Mennonite, my 21-month-old son can press the green button and go, hello. Right.
Oh, that's
So,
hilarious. And it's true. I mean, what you're saying is like, wow, people probably don't really think about, it's funny.
right. So most people kind of go, I do my job. I go, okay, what do you love most about your job? And that's usually an easy question because they'll kind of go, I like this, this, and this. I don't like this. Okay, great. Of the things that you liked, have you had any ideas to improve it? Have you had any there? And so when you start kind of giving them the space to think about what they've done, it's amazing what they come up with on their own that kind of goes, oh yeah, I did do this, or oh yeah, it's been 20 years, but wow, like, I haven't thought about that. And again, part of it is conversation, because a lot of time when people are in transition, first thing that hits them is fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so part of it is going, okay, what you've had, like I just spoke to somebody this morning who has been a nurse for the past 20 years and has had supervisory roles, and she was just downsized and she needed to kind of understand what are her options.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, sounds like you enjoy training and development. She went, yeah, I do. And I went, there you go. So now it's just taking like nurse wording on your resume and changing it to training and development wording.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden a light bulb went out, because I was like, you can come in and you can teach it in college universities. You can teach it in this, because you've been a nurse for over 20 years. You clearly have a track record of being in the profession. But there's things where you can come in as a consultant. You can come in this and kind of offer training in how to do things better, because you've kind of been in operation side as well, where you ran departments and you made them more efficient. So you can speak to that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there was like a sense of like, you know what, I've been so stressed about where to go next, because I want to maybe get out of the hospital system and do something else. And again, this is where my genius lies, where it's like, see, I asked you a few questions, you told me your story, I listened, and then I asked you some kind of deeper or bigger questions that maybe you haven't asked yourself in a very long time, or you needed somebody to pull it out of you, because we're so focused on like, I know how to do this, and
Mm-hmm.
so how do I translate that to any other industry or any other profession? And I don't necessarily want to go back to school right now, and I don't want to do this, but understand that unless you're, let's say, one of the top surgeons in the world, where nobody cares how much of a attitude you have or personality you have because you're a surgeon, most companies will pay for you to learn technical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I cannot teach you character. I cannot teach you personality. And so part of what I do is kind of go, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever tried this?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's questions like the PSI principle: security, income, growth, or happiness. Which one's most important to you?
Mm-hmm.
And most people go, well, but they're all important. I'm not dismissing that they're all important. but which one do you put first? Because if you put security first, you want a paycheck every 2 weeks, and that's all you really care about. If you put income growth first, you're going to go into marketing, you're going to go into sales, you're going to go into kind of things that give you incentives to perform. If you're going into growth, there's a level of you want to be challenged, prove that you can be challenged, and then get more challenges, kind of thing. And if your happiness is first, then it's about making a difference. It's not about how much you earn, right? Like early childhood educators, they're not in the profession for the money. They're in it because they get to make a kid laugh. They get those moments where like kid made the, and that's where for most people, just because they've worked in a career for 20 years doesn't necessarily mean they're stuck there. I speak from experience. I've switched careers 9 times and jobs 18 times. So, I've gone through this, but I've also never been afraid to take a leap of faith. And, that ties into this show. It's in anything that you do, you watch a lot of these, we'll call it reality TV dating shows. And as much as there's very attractive individuals there by most standard definitions, the level of insecurity that comes out, the level of there. So it's like, okay, great. But, like for me, at least, looks come and go, but personality will last forever. But there are certain things that you can learn and go, okay, I went through this experience and here's what I learned about myself, or here's what I learned. I jokingly say the show The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, in any normal, healthy relationship, when a guy or girl is making out with 12 to 25 people in front of, whoever you're dating, there are names like player, ass, and other thing. But on national television, it's The Bachelor or Bachelorette.
Right. You're signing up for it. You're like, please pick me.
Right. But again, I understand people want their 15 seconds of fame. I understand that, monetary wise, it could open some doors for you because you can get some speaking engagement. You can get some other things. And again, if that's the path you want to take, more power to you, go for it. But there's also a level of understanding that in any relationship, even if you come from the same cultural background, there are certain values that you will have on behavior. And so there's a level of, if this is a value for you that you're not willing to compromise on, even though things are great now, in the long term, that's something that's going to affect you. So do you really want to go through the pain of a breakup and, and unfortunately, it's kind of like, I spent so much time with this person. I made this person better. I built them. I don't want somebody else to benefit from that right now. And so people stay in relationships for the wrong reason. It's the same reason they stay in jobs for the wrong reasons, because fear kicks in of, what if I get fired? What if I do this? What if this happens? But, God did not put you on this earth to be miserable and to suffer. And most people don't understand that. And it's like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. But I also appreciate that some of the biggest hardships I've had created the best opportunities for me. Created things that otherwise I wouldn't have the opportunity to have. Even my wife, we started long distance. And when, I was going, like, life hit me so hard, and my mom was like, hey, I'll set you up. I'm like, oh, my mom wants to set me up. But I was like, okay, I got nothing better. And I was like, I don't want to do long distance. Maybe I'll have a little bit of fun. I knew I'm going to marry my wife within 3 weeks of dating. Like, it was that obvious to me that. But again, I resisted because it was long distance. And, I spent a year driving 5 to 10 hours one way just to see her for a day and a half and drive back. So
wow.
Now we have 2 kids and, continue to grow our love every single day. But it was one of those, really, long distance, really? My mom setting me up, really? But look where I am now, kind of thing. So
I love that. So how did your mom feel when she just knew that it was was she like, I knew it, I just knew it?
No, again, I think it was, again, the story of it, and I always love telling this, is, so my father had passed away. My mom was looking for a condo. She found a condo where, and I emphasize this on purpose. The previous owner was Russian Ukrainian,
Okay.
and the reason I say this is because they tend to love neon colors.
Okay.
And the entire apartment was Pepto Bismol pink. And now, when I say Pepto Bismol pink, my mom's unit is on the 20th floor. You could park the car underneath the condo, look up, and go, "Yep, the pink one over there." But she saw the potential in the renovation. She renovated it. She became friends with my wife's grandmother.
Okay.
So because they were friends, we're like, okay, let's. Now, here's how meant it was to be.
Mhm.
My wife's name is a D. My father, God rest his soul, was a D. Her mom is Rachel. My mom is Rachel. Her grandfather is Joseph. I'm Joseph.
Wow.
She, at the time, was working as a behavior therapist. I was working in education, kind of similar path. Both of us love Latin music. Both of us' favorite color is purple. Now, here's the kicker. And this, my mom made the connection at our wedding. My father's name was Adi, A-D-I.
Mhm.
Her father's name, who also passed away 13 years ago, was Ami, right? A-M-I. The only two letters that are different are D and M. D and M in Hebrew spell blood,
Wow.
right? So, like, God was like, you need to meet this woman, and you weren't ready to meet her, let's say 10 years ago,
Yeah.
because mentally you were focused on different things. You were this. So, even now, when things don't happen the way they plan, it's like, okay, God, you're clearing something better for me. And
Mhm.
it's sometimes a very hard pill to swallow because, we live in so-called reality, and I use
Mhm.
that term in quotation, where, if you pray hard enough to God and you ask for it, God will grant you, but He doesn't necessarily grant you what you want. He grants you what you can handle.
Mhm.
And there's a level where we don't know how to ask. And I think this is the problem with job seekers and companies today. We've had such a mentality for the past, I don't know, 100 years where, you work hard enough, you'll get promoted. And a lot of people that get promoted don't feel comfortable when they're promoted because they're not mentally and physically ready. They don't feel like they have enough skills yet because, for example, as you get promoted, you need to do more presentations, you need to do more public speaking.
Mhm.
You have kids today that are terrified to present in front of their class because, oh my God, they might be judged, and oh my God, they might be. And so you need to step into that. And if you're not ready to step into that, there needs to be better mentoring, there needs to be better kind of training, there needs to be better awareness of, wow, this person's brilliant. Can we use their brilliance in other ways,
Yeah.
but do it in a way that they're excited about transitioning,
Yeah.
as opposed to just being told,
Here's.
okay,
Mhm.
you're now this role and good
Mhm.
luck with it, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually see that quite a bit in like corporations where somebody can perform and function and do awesome and they're great and they're bringing the whole team together. And so they get promoted to that next level up leader position, but they really don't have those skills. And so it can really like crumble a team like in a heartbeat. So it's great to identify those pieces and actually provide that education, that nurturing, and that skill building for that person. So you said that you work on a personal
Mhm.
level of helping as a resume whisperer, which I absolutely love that. So then how about with corporations when you said you work with
So again,
corporations?
so my services are broad in that I start with old school headhunting.
Okay.
So you need somebody for your organization. I don't post jobs. I kind of go, okay, first question I have is, why haven't you filled it yourself? What's the issue here? Right. And then I go and say, who are your competitors or people in the industry that you would like to see them from? And I go find them for you. Right. Second thing is, I've now, and again, I'm building a platform for this that will be very like the first AI driven, complete HR system, kind of fully AI. And I have a phenomenal team of geniuses around me that every day I'm like, I can't believe my team involves 4 people from Intel. I have 8 or 4 PhDs. And I'm like, okay, cool. But here's the thing, like, so I realize that even personality assessments, like, some of the big boys like DISC and Myers-Briggs, they're subjective because some of the wording of the questions of the psychologist can be from a particular bias.
Okay.
So what I do is I do multiple assessments at the same time so that I can really hone in, here's who the person is. And I can kind of train organizations to kind of go, here's where you have gaps. And so part of what I'm doing is to go, I want to level the playing field where it's not the most designated person that needs to be promoted. It's the person that's ready for it. It's the person that wants it, because not everybody wants to be promoted. Like, let's say engineers often when they get promoted feel like it's punishment because they're not doing the technical stuff that they enjoy doing. They're doing the leadership stuff, which they don't. And so I help companies kind of define that and kind of say, you know what, if this person is really good with strategies or idea, let them do that and then hire somebody else to handle the people, for example, and kind of combine their skill set where you're going to get more productivity and I can track it. But if you also engage your employees in a way that they care about, so if, let's say, Elena, you're the type of person that loves learning new things, rather than giving you a generic, let's say, few $1,000 bonus or raise at the end of the year, what if I paid for courses for you to do, whether it's self-development or professional development, for example? Now, here's the thing. If you're the type of person that loves learning, are you going to get more value from a $3,000 generic raise or from doing a course that you have been wanting to do?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? So I'm now opening organizations' eyes to go, oh, I don't need to give this person a raise. Like I always give this example. If you're an executive and you have an executive assistant or personal assistant and they do a great job, you can give them a $3,000 bonus for doing a great job, or you pay their salary for the day and send them to the spa to pamper themselves, right? For most people, and especially in the United States where there's such a gap in wealth, let's say, as much as the $3,000 can pay bills, going to the spa is a luxury. Yeah. But if I'm sending you to go, okay, get a massage, get your nails done, get a manicure and a pedicure, go relax, and you're getting your salary, you're going to come back more excited to work for me and more rejuvenated than me giving you a $3,000 bonus kind of thing, right? Because you had the time to re-energize. And when I kind of acknowledge that that's very important and that you need it, all of a sudden the dynamic shifts from, okay, here's a check to, wow, you care about my well-being. You care about there. And again, now if you know that you can earn that as a reward, there's incentive for you to continue to do the work that you do, because now you're like, ooh, every 3 months I get to go to the spa. And here's the reality. Even with salary and paying, let's say, $300, $400, $500 for the spa, it's still cheaper than giving a raise or giving a bonus of $3,000, and you're going to get.
What we got? I just saw Gregory Hall's on here. It says Resume Whisperer Canada, Canadian Joseph.
Thank you, Greg, for the love. Much appreciated. Right? But so those are little things that I educate companies from, and then I help them build experiences. I'm going to steal from Guy Kiyosaki, who was the evangelist for Apple. And he said, executives go on retreats and they craft beautiful mission and vision statements. And, he said, I want you to go to Burger King and ask the manager at Burger King, what is the mission and vision of Burger King? I guarantee you, unless there's a plaque in front of them that says what the mission and vision is, they will have no clue. And so he said, create a mantra. 3-4 words that represent your business. Nike is world famous for just do it. And so you see people coming up with ideas that relate to just do it. So if you pick words like fun, what are your executives doing that's fun outside of the work or inside of the work to relay that message and not just give lip service kind of thing, right? So part of what I do is kind of help them understand where a lot of times organizations think this is what their corporate culture is, but they haven't actually looked at it internally. So you have Zapier, which is all about fun and there, and then you have like accounting and engineering firms, which are more strict and professional. It's okay to be strict. There's nothing wrong with that, but be consistent in the way that everything is communicated. Be consistent in the way that you behave, so that people go, okay, I know this is a strict organization or it's less fun, but I like the fact that they give good bonuses. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Like, and then people know what they're getting themselves into, and part of what I'm trying to solve, turnover in North America right now costs 1.3, 1.4 trillion dollars with a T, not a B,
Wow.
right? And so one individual position being open in a company costs between $100,000 and $180,000 per month,
Wow.
right? So if
Wow.
you have a position open for 6 months, that's $750,000 in losses, not including the revenue that you lose. When you count that, you're now forcing everybody to work overtime, you're not paying them, so they get annoyed, and they're now starting to do the bare minimum not to get fired, but not with the same passion and enthusiasm. They start calling in sick, which means now there's more workload for everybody. They start, and so when I break down the cost of these two executives, say, would you rather lose all this money, or would you rather kind of address this right now and shift the culture, shift the behaviors, where again, it's not, you don't need to spend Google and Facebook money to create culture. You can do a lot of little things, like, people love their coffee. Buy a good coffee machine where you can make lattes and cappuccinos and hot chocolates, even if it costs you $1,000.
Mhm.
But that free coffee that costs the company $1,000 will produce $500,000 in revenue,
Yeah. Yeah, I
right?
get it. I'm seeing it the way you're describing it, and it brings up a question for me where when companies bring you on to look at all of this, even if they're thinking of employees, how often does it turn into actually having to rework the structure, like how they have their culture laid out? Like, does it turn into more in-depth work for the corporation as opposed to just looking at employee?
Again, it depends on the structure of the business.
Mhm,
It depends on the leadership's willingness to accept
mhm,
change. Um, and there's little things like, I'll give an example. I'm a big kid at heart.
mhm,
One of my favorite holidays is Halloween,
mhm,
right? If you're an executive and you've got meetings all day and you don't bother to dress up for Halloween, but you have a Halloween costume party, you're basically sending a message of, yeah, whatever, we don't care.
yeah,
Even if you have meetings, go to the dollar store, buy a mask,
mhm,
right? Go for 15, 20 minutes, shake hands of the people that dressed up for Halloween,
mhm,
acknowledge the effort that they made, maybe take a few pictures, take your mask off and go do those meetings.
mhm,
That 15 minutes is the difference between buy-in and trust in the leadership
mhm.
to whatever, it's just them saying another thing and we don't care kind of thing. So you don't need to spend oodles of money.
Mhm,
There's uh, experiences that you can create. So part of what I do is I also create events for companies. So if a company wants to do a paint night, rather than going to the typical franchise where everybody, paints the same tree,
mhm.
what if, based on your budget, I can bring an internationally renowned artist directly to your office that will do an event that's one of a kind only for your employees?
Yeah.
Think about the conversation you're going to have about the fact that maybe you created a painting together, the fact that, you know, you got to see the creative side or the creative process of different people, as opposed to, here's the formula, here's, step one, draw this, step two, draw this. Like, there'll still be steps, but it's now a one of a kind experience versus there,
So
you
it
can
so
do
it does boil down to that the personal experience in feeling seen, feeling honored, feeling appreciated, over and over and over that's kind of the piece that really does make the difference as
look
those
with
that want to stay and be committed as to those that feel like they're just
Look, but
replaceable.
even hybrid or like remote employees,
Mhm,
58% of them say that they miss the water cooler conversations. They miss the, let's talk about television, let's talk about movies, let's talk about music, let's talk about just my kids kind of thing.
mhm,
And so there's simple things like do a Zoom call where everybody has lunch together and you do like a trivia. contest or whatever. Engage those employees even if they're remote. And so it's not about, how much money do we need to spend. It's about making a genuine effort. At the end of the day, part of the conversation I have is, again, you don't need to spend a whole lot of money. There's just action. Like, again, simple example, if you're walking by garbage and you look at it, right, and you don't pick it up, your coworkers are going to do the same thing. Yeah. But if you're the leader, you're an executive, and you bend over to pick it up, first day, second day, third day, after a few days of seeing you do it, your coworkers are going to go, okay, they do this regularly, I'm going to also take the initiative to do it. It's not just lip service. And so a big part of what I do is education. And then afterwards, it's, how much are you willing to kind of do more and to what level? And then we map out whether it's having a social committee and brainstorming activities that are inexpensive, like indoor mini golf or indoor bowling, where you kind of have contests between departments or between there. And then people get engaged because it's fun, it's silly, but it's not like you can go to Dollarama and buy a bowling set for kids that are plastic and use that in the office kind of thing, right? So
it'd be a great time. We'd all have a great time.
Exactly. So it's just kind of remembering that, if you treat people well and with respect, you'll get a lot more done, because then all of a sudden you'll get ideas, you'll get people kind of going, ooh, we should try this, or we should do this, and here's why. And they'll build a case study for you. They'll even take the initiative to spearhead that activity or that, and so there's a level where change needs to occur. The world is changing very, very, very quickly. And, nobody can do it by themselves. Mm-hmm. Any company that thinks, okay, I don't need anybody else's help, I'm just going to be competition. No, because even most things today, most companies can deliver, let's say, 90% of what they need, or 85%. And then the rest of it, they have to have partnerships. They have, even in the world of technology, you use the term APIs, which is, I'll communicate with your system and we'll do certain things, but you can't do it without those APIs, right? So you still need that support. And so it's about bringing those values of relationships back, bringing the values of, togetherness and recognizing that company, a few exceptions like banking and insurance can do whatever they want. They're, as the movies say, they're too big to fail. That is actually one of the names of the movies for there. But here's the reality: is that as an entrepreneur right now, you have your strength. If you need help doing accounting and that's not your cup of tea, you might partner with someone who has an accounting business. Go, I'll do some marketing for you. In exchange, you do some of my accounting, or, let's do this together. And you both win. You both get ahead of it, right? So Greg, that's, give me some kudos. Yeah. He specializes in helping people understand the root cause of their health issues, right? And he can give you some very detailed reports. And I've gone to him and I've used his services, and I buy certain supplements from him because they've made a difference in my life. So I'm happy to recommend when someone says, I'm dealing with this, I've gone to doctors and I can't figure out what's going on, to go, okay, here's my friend Greg, call him, tell them that Joseph sent you, and, do what you need to do. He'll explain his services much better than I can, because that's his, realm.
Right.
Same thing, there's certain, even as a guy, haircut, I don't give myself a haircut as much as the Flowbee was there in the 80s and the 90s kind of thing. To give myself a haircut. I don't give myself, I go hire someone there. Yeah. I need glasses. I don't diagnose myself. I go to an optometrist. So,
and you make a great point, because in entrepreneurship, especially when you're starting out, you kind of think you have to know it all and you have to do it all and you have to figure it out. And the reality is there's many people that are experts in the things that need done, that you'd be better off to just partner up with them in some capacity and help each other.
Correct. And so look, it's your business, it's your baby, and you're always worried. But if you, again, as a solopreneur, there's 8 types of cultures that define a business. Review the 8, and I help you review them, and then kind of go, I'm these 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you're these 2, what are the 3 or 4 words that represent me? So I love like your acronym, HOPE, help one person
every day.
every day, right? So here's the thing. So, okay, 4 words, help one person every day. Okay, how does that manifest in your life on a regular? Is it you went and got a coffee and you spoke to the barista and you gave her words of inspiration? Is it, you saw someone who's home, like, I was buying something at Walmart, there was 2 homeless people out there. I looked at them and said, would you like a meal? And they were like, yeah. And I went to McDonald's and I bought both of them like a Big Mac meal. I said, here you go. And with the apple pie or whatever. And they were shocked that I actually bought them the meal as opposed to kind of here's $1 kind of thing. I actually spent money. And I was like, okay, it's, you know what?
Yeah.
It's a blessing for you.
Yeah.
So whether it's like, in my business, I give free advice on, what should I do in my transition? What should I do here? Give me a second. Sorry. I'll just kind of mute my phone. I apologize. And so part of it, sometimes, I'll have conversations with my wife where it's like, you're giving too much for free. I'm like, you know what? God will bless me in other ways.
Yeah.
God's blessed me right now that the vision that I've had for 15 years to completely revolutionize the experience of job finding, and build AI, I've now surrounded myself with people that are such at high levels that, like, when I met my CTO, we were at a technology conference and I went to the pre-party event, and at 11:30 p.m. I was like, okay, I'm tired, I'm going home. And as I was walking out, he smiled at me. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go say hi. We ended up talking for an hour. And he kind of told me that he just finished building Intel's AI cloud-based learning management system, which is kind of taking 28 different platforms, putting them into a data lake and tokenizing the data so that the CEO at any point can go, I need this data, and have all the information. And he said one word to me that when he said that word, I'm like, ooh, I need to talk to you. And he said, when companies hire me, I put my head in the cloud and then I look down. And when he said the word cloud, I'm like, I need to show you something. And so I booked a 1-hour meeting with him at the conference, and we sat down for lunch, and the tables had kind of whiteboards on them that you can write. And as I was explaining my idea, he started architecting my business, right? And I went, yeah, you see, I don't speak tech. I speak human, and I need someone like you, because I have no idea if we should use Python or React or like, I know what they are because I recruit, but I don't speak there. And
and all that from him shooting you a smile when you were feeling a little tired, thinking you were.
Well, it was 11:30 at night. I was ready to go home, and we ended up speaking till like 12:45 a.m. And I was just like. And again, when he said his background, I was like, holy smokes, kind of thing, right? And, that led to a conversation where, he's introduced me to some very influential people. And, like his team at Intel, 4 of them are going to be part of building this vision that I've had for years. And I was like, right, wow, like, okay. And other conversations of like where I've now spoken to like AI specialists, and when I kind of went, here's what we're going to do, they started drooling because they understood the level of connectivity that I'm trying to create, the level of transparency, the level of opportunity for everybody to love what they do. And again, going back to statistics, 80 to 90% of people in North America hate their job.
That's amazing. That is
Right.
amazing to me. So if somebody's tuning in and is thinking like, okay, I like what I'm hearing, and I do think it's time for me to make a change, but I'm in this pile of all of these people and need to stand out. How do they get a hold of you to have that conversation, to see if you can, as the resume whisperer or from whichever angle, could be that person to actually help them into that next phase? How would they get a hold of you?
So again, my name, Joseph Stetter. So if it helps people to remember, think of the word stutter, but instead of a U, use an E. That's my last name. I'm pretty much the only Joseph Stetter in North America that I am aware of. So josephstetter.com, thecelebrategroup.com, those are my kind of two main websites. I will not be announcing the new website because everything is still early with that, but you know, I'm very active on LinkedIn. I'm very active on Facebook. Those are the two platforms I use the most. But most medias, you can find me pretty easily. If you type in Joseph Stetter, you'll find me, and I'll respond to you, give you, you know, whatever initial advice for free, because I don't think people understand the breadth of knowledge that I have. That is not, and that's why I am not a career coach or resume guru or resume writer. I'm a resume whisperer.
Yeah.
Because I'm different than everybody else. And again, with 150 million people that might need my help, I also recognize I'm not for everybody. But make sure that you're sourcing that whoever you choose to work with, it knows your industry, knows what to tell you, because, you know, it's not just keywords anymore, and that's not going to get you hired. You need to know how to highlight yourself. You know, so if you, Elena, want to work with somebody who's Filipino because it's cultural relevance kind of thing, great. You know, if somebody prefers to work with a woman that's, you know, in this world that I'm in, great, because they, you know, I'm not the only expert out there, and I don't claim to be. But make sure that whoever you're working with understands how to market you in a way that gets you noticed. If you're not getting noticed, it's redundant to kind of pay for services. I unfortunately had to learn this the hard way, where I hired 5 different marketing firms to help me market my business and produce 0 results.
Wow.
And paid a lot of money to learn this very valuable lesson. So right now I'm doing things more manual, where I'm doing some of my own marketing and learning this whole world of algorithms and this what works and this doesn't work. And it's taking a long time, but at least that way, when next time I hire marketing to make things more efficient, I actually can track and I know what I'm looking for, because I've gone through
you've
some of
gone through it.
the foundational things myself, right? So
Yeah.
going back to creating experiences, like I went to visit Vatican City. As much as I can watch YouTube videos on Vatican City, there's nothing like standing underneath the fresca and understanding, you know, this painter painted upside down on a ceiling for like 2 years to make this thing happen, kind of thing, right? As much as I can ask about culture and there, unless you've physically been there, you might have some understanding from TV, movies, etc. But there's a difference of actually physically being in a country and physically experiencing some of the things that might be common, you know, like Filipino food, like some of your desserts. They're very jelly-like desserts. They're very tasty, but when you first see them and you are not familiar with the culture, they look very like, do I really want to eat this thing kind of right now? So those are things that, again, it's you learn that through experiences. You can't have, as much as you can read a book, as much as you can watch a movie or whatever, you have to do it yourself. And so part of what I'm building is to help companies understand you don't need to be every other company. You just need to own who you are and how you show up. And as long as you're consistent, you will attract people that are okay with that environment or are
That's awesome.
like that environment kind of thing.
That's awesome. Know who you are and stay consistent and own that. And that's key. That's key right there. So this coming weekend starts our Christmas in July streamathon, and you are going to be on at 2 p.m. Eastern time as a gold sponsor. And what are you looking forward to this year for our third annual?
I don't think I have expectations. I come with an open mind, and whatever the conversation, whatever the experience, great. Whatever stories you want me to share, kind of awesome. Because at the end of the day, if there's one thing I've learned, sometimes a story will make more of an impact than the tips I'm giving, or make more of an impact than, just listening. Because,
Yep.
it's amazing, and I'm very blessed that I have access to social media, and I have this where I can listen to a speaker go, and I was like, okay, yep, I got the message, thank you very much, kind of thing. And I think this is where it's a conversation of, if I'm going to help somebody out, whether this is one tip I gave that made a difference for them, or I shared a story and they were like, I'm going through the same thing right now. At the end of the day, with all the craziness that's going on in the world right now, we need humanity. We need heart, as some of my colleagues and business partners would say, heart-centric people that understand it's about human experience, not not hate, and not anger, and not politics, and not there, and separate those layers of generational anger, and kind of go into we were put on this earth. Each one of us has a gift to share with the world, and there's abundance for everything. There's 160 million people that need my help individually on job finding.
Yes.
Listen, I'm not going to say no if 160 million actually want to use my services, but I'm also realistic that that's not going to happen. So like my personal game is to personally help over 1.8 million people there, which means there's still 150, let's say 8 million available for you if you are in the same space that I am. All right. And even if you copy some of the things I do and you do it better than me and you made more money than me, I really don't care, because I know God will provide other opportunities for me to create my legacy, to make an impact, to create a ripple effect on the world for the better.
I love that. Yeah, because it boils down to, again, owning you and your gifts, and how he has here, you here to do the things that only you can do. Even though everybody else can do something similar, there's still things that are unique because they're your gifts, they're your gifts. So,
and again, it's, like anything else, I don't need the whole world to listen to it. I need I'm talking about North America. I'm not even talking about Europe. I'm not even talking about Asia. I'm not even talking about Africa. There is a gap in the world, but right now, my experience, my knowledge, is helping people in North America, whether it's new immigrants to the country, whether it's people that are, university graduates, whether it's people that have been downsized or let go from their current employer and have been at the same employer for 20 years, whether it's people that have had criminal records, but, want to do good in this world and need to get their foot in the door. It's about that conversation. It's about a conversation that kind of goes, okay, well, what can you offer?
I love that.
And then let's share it in a way that people go, ooh, because then they don't care about the background, right? Like, I had Michael Faber on my podcast, and, he shared about his upbringing, and he shared about this. And again, it's not that he has the most certifications in education that says here, it's the fact that he genuinely cares about people and he wants to help them, that people are drawn to him. People are drawn to his events. And I know that you've been a speaker at his event and so forth, but it's creating that platform where you can kind of go, here's who I am, here's what I do, here's why. My services might be similar to these 10 people, but this is my flavor, this is my style, or this is my approach. And if that resonates with you, great, let's have a conversation.
Absolutely. I love it. I love all of this. And I want to thank you for your time and for sharing and for your sponsorship. And I am looking forward to our discussion picking up on Saturday during the actual live event. It's our 3rd annual. And I just want to say thank you again so much for your support, because as we're growing, so much more is going into this, and it wouldn't happen without your support. And so I appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Have yourself a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Bye.
We'll see you Saturday. Okay, bye-bye.